Rain slapped against the taxi window as Ethan stared out at the familiar streets of his old town. Everything looked smaller now. The bookstore at the corner, the café with fogged glass, even the park bench where she once laughed until her eyes crinkled. He clenched his jaw. 5 years. 5 long years. And here he was, coming back to the only place that had ever felt like home. "I came back for you," he whispered under his breath, almost to the rain. The driver turned slightly. "You say something?" Ethan shook his head, forcing a smile. "No, just memories." The taxi stopped in front of a small cafe. The sign still read, "Lina's Cup," faded but intact. The same chime jingled as he pushed the door open, and for a moment, time folded. He was 21 again, sitting by the window with Lila, arguing over who loved caramel lattes more. "Same table?" the barista asked. He blinked, startled. "You remember me?" "Of course. You and that girl used to come here every day. Haven't seen you in years. She still comes around, though. Sweet one." Ethan's pulse stumbled. "She still comes here?" "Most mornings, with her fiancé." The word hit like a bullet. He managed a tight nod, ordered a coffee, and sat by the window. Outside, life moved on. Umbrellas crossing streets, laughter spilling from corners, a world unbothered by his absence. He took a sip of his drink and stared at the seat across from him. In his mind, Lila was still there. Hair tied, messily, eyes alive, teasing him. "You're too serious, Ethan. One day, you'll realize not everything needs a plan." He had planned everything. His career abroad, the success, the timing. The only thing he didn't plan was losing her. Later that evening, he walked past the park where they once carved their initials on an oak tree. The engraving was still there, though faint. E+L. His fingers brushed over it. Cold, rough, real. Then he heard laughter. That same familiar voice. He turned, and there she was, Lila. Her hair was shorter now, falling just above her shoulders. She wore a white coat and was holding a bouquet, smiling at a man beside her. Ethan froze. The man's face came into focus. His old friend, Noah. Noah placed his arm around her, laughing as they walked away. Lila's ring caught the dying sunlight. Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to call out, but the words refused to leave. He watched as they disappeared around the corner, her laughter echoing like a ghost. He sat on the park bench long after they were gone. Rain starting to drizzle again. His mind screamed to let it go, to leave, to not ruin what time had already rewritten. But his heart whispered her name. That night, sleep was impossible. He scrolled through old photos, college days, road trips, blurry selfies. Then he made the mistake of searching her name online. The headline hit him first. Lila Carter and Noah Bennett, engaged after 3 years of love. He stared at the image, her in Noah's arms, smiling, radiant, happy. The date of the post was 2 weeks ago. He dropped his phone, pressing both hands against his face. A silent sob escaped before he could stop it. 5 years, he whispered, voice trembling. 5 years too late. The next morning, Ethan walked into the local bookstore to distract himself. The bell above the door jingled, and there she was, again, Lila. She was standing by the romance aisle, flipping through a novel, unaware of him. He froze, then slowly stepped closer. She turned, and her eyes widened. For a second, disbelief flickered across her face. Then, recognition. "Ethan," she breathed. He managed a smile. "Hey, Lila." She laughed nervously, clutching the book. You're really here?" "I am." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was loaded, with things unsaid, with ghosts, with everything 5 years had stolen. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again," she said softly. "I didn't think I'd ever come back." "What made you?" He hesitated, then shrugged. "I guess I missed home." Her smile faltered. "You mean me?" Ethan's throat tightened. "Maybe both." A long pause. Her eyes shimmered with a hint of the girl he once knew. Then her phone buzzed. She looked down, and a name flashed across the screen. Noah. She answered quickly. "Hey, I'm at the bookstore." "Yeah, I ran into someone." "Okay. Love you too." When she hung up, she looked flustered. "That was—" "I know," he cut in gently. "Noah." Her lips parted, searching his face. "You know, I saw you both yesterday." Her eyes softened, guilt flickering behind them. "Ethan, He held up a hand. "You don't have to explain. Life happens. I'm happy for you." But his voice cracked on happy. She noticed. "Ethan." He forced a smile. "Seriously, Noah's a great guy." "He is," she whispered, as if trying to convince herself. They talked for a while, about work, about places he'd traveled. Every word was polite, careful, safe. But between the lines, something deeper tugged. Something neither dared to touch. When she left, she hugged him briefly. Her perfume lingered long after she was gone. Ethan stood there, unmoving, replaying her voice in his head, until the shopkeeper cleared his throat. "You okay, sir?" He nodded weakly. "Yeah, just catching up with an old ghost." That night, he walked to the bridge, overlooking the town lights. The water below shimmered with reflections. He thought of what he'd say if he saw her again. "Why didn't you wait?" No, that wasn't fair. He was the one who left. He took a deep breath and whispered into the night. "I came back for you, but maybe I shouldn't have." As if the universe heard, his phone buzzed. A message from Lila. "Can we talk? Tomorrow? Just us?" He stared at the text for a long time, heart pounding. Then he typed back, "Of course." He didn't sleep. He rehearsed 100 versions of what he'd say. Some bitter, some tender, some pleading. None felt right, because deep down, he knew the truth. He hadn't come back to win her. He'd come back to see if she was happier without him. But he didn't know which answer would hurt more. The next evening, Ethan sat at the same café, the one with the fogged glass and the smell of roasted beans that always reminded him of her laughter. He kept checking his watch, even though she wasn't late. Every sound of the door opening made his heart jump. When she finally walked in, everything else, the chatter, the music, the clinking cups, fell away. She smiled, nervous but bright. "You came. I said I would." She sat across from him. For a moment, they just stared, unsure where to begin. "I don't even know what to say," she admitted, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "It feels strange, seeing you again." "Strange good or strange bad?" he asked. "Both," she said softly. "You look different, older, calmer." "And you," he said, eyes searching her face. "You look like everything I used to dream about." Her eyes flickered down to her cup, a faint smile curling her lips. "Still the charmer, huh?" "I wasn't charming, just honest." Lila took a slow breath, her voice barely above a whisper. "You left without saying goodbye properly." He looked away. "If I'd said goodbye properly, I wouldn't have left." The silence that followed carried 5 years of unsaid things. Love, regret, and what ifs. "I thought about you," she said suddenly. Ethan froze. "You did. Every time I walked past the park, every time it rained, every time I heard a song you used to hum under your breath." His heart thudded. "Then why am I engaged? she finished for him. Because time didn't wait. I didn't think you'd come back. He leaned forward, voice shaking. I told you I would. You told me you'd come back when you'd made something of yourself. I didn't realize that meant years. Ethan, I waited. For months. Then for a year. And then life just kept moving. He swallowed hard. And Noah. She hesitated, her eyes softening. He was there when everything fell apart, when I stopped believing you'd return. He never asked me to forget you, but he made it easier to live with missing you. Ethan leaned back, silent. The truth was sharp, but it wasn't cruel. It was just real. Lila reached across the table, her fingers brushing his hand. You know, when Noah proposed, part of me still thought about you. He looked up, startled. Not because I didn't love him, she continued, voice trembling, but because I realized love doesn't always wait for permission to move on. Her hand slipped away, and he let it. Outside, thunder rolled softly. The rain had started again. Of course it had. I guess this is how it was supposed to be, Ethan said quietly. You happy, me learning how to be okay with it. She bit her lip. You're not okay, though. He met her gaze. Would you be, if you came back and found the only person you ever loved wearing someone else's ring? Her breath caught. Ethan. He stood abruptly. I should go. Don't, she said quickly. Please. He hesitated. Stay, she whispered. Just for a little while. Let's pretend we're still those kids at the park, before life happened. He looked at her, really looked. The way her eyes still shimmered when she smiled, the small scar above her brow from their first hiking trip, the way she still tucked her hair when she was nervous. Okay, he said softly. Just for a little while. They sat back down. The conversation flowed easier this time. They laughed. Really laughed. Talked about silly things, college pranks, bad coffee, the teacher who'd once mistaken them for siblings. For a fleeting hour, it felt like time had rewound. But when the clock struck 9, reality returned. She stood, hesitating. Noah's waiting for me. Of course, Ethan said, forcing a smile. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small photo. Old, faded. It was the 3 of them, from graduation day. Remember this? He chuckled. Yeah, you made me wear that ridiculous cap. You hated it, she said, smiling. Then her tone softened. I kept this all these years. He looked at her, trying to memorize every detail. Why? Because you were my best friend before you were anything else. And sometimes, I miss that. He swallowed hard. Me too. They stood there for a moment too long, staring at each other like gravity was trying to pull them closer, but life kept pushing them apart. When she turned to leave, he blurted it out. Not loud, but enough. I came back for you. She froze. Slowly, she turned. Their eyes met. His, full of regret, hers, full of tears. Ethan, she whispered, shaking her head. Don't. I have to say it. I came back for you. Every dream, every flight, every night I told myself I'd be worthy of you. I came back because I thought we'd still have a chance. Tears welled up in her eyes. You're 5 years too late. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I know. She took a shaky breath. Do you know what's funny? A part of me wishes you hadn't come back, because now I have to remember what it feels like to want you again. The air between them thickened. Neither moved. Finally, she whispered, Goodbye, Ethan. He smiled sadly. Goodbye, Lila. She walked out, and with her, the last of his hope left too. The next day, Noah called him. Ethan, man, I heard you're back. You should have told me. Ethan tried to sound casual. Surprise lost its spark. Noah laughed. Still the same old Ethan. Listen, come by tomorrow. We're having dinner. Lila would love to see you again. The irony nearly made him laugh. Yeah, sure, he said weakly. That night, Ethan stared at the ceiling of his small apartment, Lila's words replaying like a loop. 5 years too late. He closed his eyes, letting the silence swallow him. But even silence sounded like her. The dinner was worse than he imagined. Noah was his usual cheerful self, pulling out chairs, cracking jokes, pouring wine. Lila tried to hide the tension, but every time their eyes met, something flickered. So Ethan, Noah said, grinning, still chasing the world? Not anymore, Ethan replied. Turns out the world's smaller than I thought. Noah laughed. You should have stayed. Maybe you'd have been my best man by now. Ethan's smile faltered. Yeah, maybe. Lila stood to serve dinner, her hand trembling slightly as she passed him a plate. Their fingers brushed, a spark that both felt but pretended not to. Noah didn't notice. He kept talking, filling the silence that should have been full of things Ethan couldn't say. When dinner ended, Ethan excused himself. On his way out, Lila followed. Wait, she said, stepping onto the porch. The moonlight caught her eyes, wet and conflicted. You shouldn't come around anymore. It's too hard. He nodded. For who? For both of us. He hesitated. Then tell me, Lila, if I'd come back sooner, would it have been me? She froze. Her silence said everything. Then, quietly, yes, Ethan felt his heart break. Not loudly, but quietly, like glass cracking under weight. Then I guess I'll carry that, he said softly. Forever. She turned away, tears falling silently. Goodbye, Ethan. He didn't answer. He just watched her walk back inside, toward the life that should have been his. That night, he wrote a letter. Not to send, not to change anything, just to breathe out the pain. Lila, I came back for you, but maybe I was meant to learn what love costs when you come too late. If you ever read this, I hope you know you were worth the wait, even if the ending wasn't mine. He folded it neatly and placed it in his jacket pocket. Outside, the town slept, but Ethan knew sleep wouldn't come for him. Tomorrow, they'd get married, and he'd have to find a way to say goodbye. For real this time. The morning of the wedding arrived heavy with clouds. The town buzzed quietly. Florists rushing, cars lining the church street, laughter echoing through the air. To everyone else, it was a beautiful day. To Ethan, it was the day he'd learn what letting go truly felt like. He sat at the edge of his bed, staring at the letter he'd written the night before. His fingers traced the creases like it was something fragile, because it was. It held everything he never got to say. He put it in his jacket, stood up, and looked in the mirror. The reflection staring back wasn't the man who'd left chasing dreams. It was the man who'd come back to bury one. Outside, the sky began to drizzle. Of course it did. Rain always followed him here. He walked slowly toward the church, unsure why he was even going. Maybe to see it with his own eyes, to believe it was over, maybe to say goodbye without words. Inside, people were filling the pews, flowers, music, laughter, all so achingly alive. He slipped quietly into the last row, unnoticed. From there, he could see her, Lila, radiant in white, bouquet trembling slightly in her hands. She looked beautiful, too beautiful for heartbreak. Noah stood tall at the altar, smiling that easy, confident smile Ethan had always envied. The ceremony began. Hymns, vows, promises. Ethan's heart thudded with each word. When the priest asked if anyone had a reason the two should not be wed, silence fell. Ethan's fingers clenched around the letter in his pocket. Every nerve in his body screamed, "Stand up." But he didn't. He sat still, the kind of stillness that hurts. Lila's eyes drifted across the room. For a brief second, they found him, and in that single glance, time fractured. She froze mid-breath. He didn't move. Their eyes spoke what lips couldn't. "I came back. I know." Her lips trembled. Noah squeezed her hand gently, unaware of the storm inside her. "Do you take this man?" the priest began. She hesitated. The room seemed to hold its breath. Ethan's heartbeat roared in his ears. Finally, her voice came, soft but certain. "I do." Ethan closed his eyes. A single tear slid down his face, silent and final. Applause followed. Music swelled. Everyone rose to their feet. Ethan didn't. He just stood quietly, letting the noise fade into nothing. He walked out before the crowd spilled from the doors. The rain had stopped. The world felt both lighter and heavier at once. He wandered aimlessly until he reached the park. Their park. The oak tree stood there, roots old and stubborn. E+L still etched in its bark, faint but not gone. He smiled weakly. "Guess even time couldn't erase us completely." Behind him, footsteps. He turned, and there she was, still in her gown, still breathtaking. "Lila," he whispered. She stood a few feet away, eyes red, breath shaking. "You left. You were married," he said softly. "What was I supposed to do? Stay and ruin it?" She took a step closer. "You were supposed to say goodbye." He exhaled, almost laughing through the ache. "I've been trying to do that for 5 years." The wind rustled leaves above them. Somewhere, a bell tolled from the church. "I saw you there," she said. "I couldn't breathe. I didn't mean to make it harder." "It's already hard enough," she said, voice breaking. "You think this is easy for me, to see you and pretend it doesn't hurt?" He took a step forward. "Then don't pretend." "Ethan." "No," he interrupted. "You want the truth? I never stopped loving you. Not for a day. Every success, every flight, every moment I thought I was getting closer to my dream, it all led back to you. You were the dream." Her tears fell freely now. "Why didn't you come sooner?" "I thought time would wait," he said quietly. "I thought love was patient enough to survive distance." She closed her eyes, whispering, "It was, until it wasn't." He smiled sadly. "Then maybe this is where our story ends." She reached out, touched his cheek. "Our story doesn't end. It just changes chapters." He nodded, swallowing the ache. "I hope he makes you happy." "He does," she said softly, "but differently. You were my fire, Ethan. He's my peace, and I need peace now." He stepped back, every muscle fighting, not to pull her into his arms. "Then keep it. Keep it all. Just remember I came back for you." "I'll never forget," she whispered. He turned to leave. Her voice stopped him. "Wait." He looked back. She walked up, slipped something into his hand. The small photo from graduation, edges worn. "I think it belongs with you now," she said. He stared at it. 3 young faces frozen, in a time when everything was simple. "We look happy." "We were," she said. "Maybe that's enough." She turned, walking back toward the church, her white dress catching light like a memory, fading into daylight. Ethan watched until she disappeared completely. Only then did he unfold the letter from his pocket. He placed it gently under the tree's roots, pressing it into the soil. "Goodbye, Lila," he murmured. Rain began again, light and steady. He smiled up at the gray sky. Somehow, it felt like she was crying too. Hours later, when everyone had gone home, Lila returned quietly. She found the folded letter beneath the oak, slightly damp but readable. Her hands trembled as she opened it. "Lila, I came back for you, but maybe I was meant to find peace instead. You'll always be the reason I believe in love, even if I'm not the one beside you. If there's a world where timing is kinder, I'll find you again. Ethan, tears blurred the ink. She folded it carefully and held it to her chest. I'll wait for that world, she whispered. From the distance, thunder rolled. Days turned into weeks. The newlyweds left for their honeymoon, and Ethan packed his things. No note, no announcement, just quiet departure. At the airport, he looked out the window as the plane prepared for takeoff. A familiar ache filled his chest, but this time it was gentle. He whispered to himself, I came back for you. Maybe that was enough. He smiled faintly, eyes glistening. Thank you for teaching me that love isn't about getting what you want. It's about wishing them happiness, even when it's not with you. The plane lifted into the clouds, disappearing into the gray horizon. Back in town, rain fell on the park again. The old oak tree stood tall, roots strong, initials faint, but still there. Proof that something once burned bright. And if you listen closely, when the wind blew through its leaves, it almost sounded like two names whispered together, Ethan and Lila, because some loves never vanish. They just live quietly, waiting in the corners of memory. And somewhere, someone always comes back, even if only in heart. So if you've ever loved someone and timing tore you apart, if you've ever whispered, what if, into the dark, remember this. Sometimes the most powerful love story isn't the one that ends in forever. It's the one that ends with peace. Pause. If this story touched you even a little, don't scroll away. Take a deep breath, hit subscribe, and share this story with someone who once meant the world to you. And tell me in the comments, would you wait if you knew they'd come back for you?